Hey everybody, Tom Marks with PC Gamer here with William Dubé, game designer on Jotun. Am I saying that right? Is Jotun or Jotun?
It's quite an issue on the forums.
Point of debate here?
Point of debate, yeah. It's Jotun, but
okay.
We've been using Jotun to make things simpler for Google searches and Steam purposes.
And for people less cultured than myself.
Well, I wouldn't pose judgment on that.
So, it's a top-down kind of action-y game. We're watching the intro with the story here right now, but you are killed, essentially, is the
So you play Thora, a Viking warrior who died an inglorious death and must prove herself to the gods to enter Valhalla.
Okay.
So here in the intro you see how she died. She was in this epic storm and her boat crashed. And she was taken by Ran, the goddess of the sea, who has a giant net, and she takes sailors and brings them into Helheimer, which is like the Norse hell, basically.
And this is all based in like real mythology, right?
Yeah, absolutely, as much as possible. Really trying to take from the text as much as possible. So when Thora awakes, though, she's not in this palace of seaweed and bones that she was expecting, but in this place of stillness and silence.
And so we were talking about this a little bit right before we started recording, which is that all of the animations and the art is all hand-drawn, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the key points of the game, is that every frame is hand-drawn, every rock, every bush that you see is hand-drawn as well. And it really gives a good style to the game.
Wow, and so this is just like kind of an overview of where we're going.
Yeah, so this is the beginning of the game. It's you can see Yggdrasil, the world tree, in the background there.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, we have parts in the game where we kind of pull out and just let you enjoy the view a little bit.
Yeah, that's something I was noticing a lot in... Oh, I just did a very heavy attack there. Something I was noticing a lot in trailers and stuff is that a large amount of the game seems to be like really pulled out. Your character is very small.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why... Was it just because of this beautiful art that you have, or like what was the decision behind doing that?
The decision behind that is definitely the big boss battles, and then bringing that element of scale into the exploration as well. One of the challenges when you're in top down is that you're always looking at the ground, so sometimes that makes it a bit more difficult to find these moments where you can have these big beautiful vistas and stuff like that. So that's why we kind of zoom out and kind of cheat, kind of go into like a 2D perspective. But yeah, that's definitely one of the key parts of the game.
And I mentioned it earlier as well, but I'm getting a lot of Shadow of the Colossus-y vibes, at least. Maybe, you know, obviously it's not going to be like climbing on things like in the grip meter and all that sort of stuff, but...
Yeah, Shadow of the Colossus is a huge influence for us. Really the thing we're taking from Shadow of the Colossus and bringing into Jotun is that feeling of scale. Mm-hmm. To have that feeling of you against impossible odds. And that ties into what you were saying before about how the camera zooms out a lot and how you become very, very small.
Right.
It all ties into that.
All right, so tell me where I'm going here. Where can?
So you're going the right way. You just have to. This is just our way of teaching you the controls. You have a heavy attack that you used earlier.
Gotcha. There we go. Yeah, I really like the hand-drawn gives it just such a kind of different like feel in every animation. But the main point of this game that I have not reached yet, or maybe not point, but gameplay is
the main objective
is killing these huge bosses.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are 5 bosses in the game, and in order to unlock the boss fight, you have to find rooms that are hidden throughout Norse Purgatory. And you're about to die from poison.
Yeah, I see that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there you go. So you have these 5 bosses in the game, 9 exploration levels.
Okay.
For the first boss, the one we're going to right now, in Jotunheim, there's only 1 level because we want to get you into the game, into the boss fights as fast as possible. So the goal is to find the rune at the end of the level.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh my goodness. And that's a checkpoint, basically?
That's actually something you'll find out, but it's the objective of this level.
Gotcha.
We're trying to be very diverse in our level designs. There isn't that much combat in the levels. Some levels do have combat, but a lot of them are pure puzzle based. Some of them are a bit of combat. Some of them are pure exploration based as well. We're really going for a mix there.
And you were talking about this earlier with the pulling out, making like just kind of having moments of enjoying the scenery, and it really does feel like you guys spent time kind of crafting these images whenever it zooms out like this. How much time just went into, I guess, designing like moments?
A lot, actually. Yeah, that's a really good point. These ways, when we pull the camera out, it's done for several things. Sometimes it's done for just to enjoy the scenery and to view like a beautiful vista. Sometimes it's to guide the player as well, without being too like obvious, without saying like go over there in text. We can just shift the camera a little bit, and that'll tell you exactly where you need to go.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
So this is the Barrow Mound. In Viking culture, in old Viking culture, they used to bury their dead with their belongings. Sometimes I think archaeologists have found actual Viking ships buried with like important kings or jarls or different people. So here, what we have are three spirits called the Dizir, and the Dizir protect the Barrow Mound. And so once you find all three of them, you'll be able to open it up.
Gotcha, and that's also why we saw it, like, you know, I probably would have ended up figuring that out just because you guys have laid it out with these rocks going away from each of the ones, and so you're using a lot of kind of, like, not as much hand-holdy tutorial stuff in your way of...
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to keep the game interesting for players. I think, for me, one of the fun parts of a game is kind of figuring out its patterns, figuring out how it works and stuff, and from playtests and people, our backers and people on Kickstarter supported us, and people have playtested the game, it seems to be something that players enjoy. So,
how would you? So there's a lot of also controversy in general, just about like, oh my goodness,
beware of the tentacles.
Yeah. Oh man. How would you say that you like benefited, I guess, from doing a Kickstarter? Obviously it made you able to make the game, but like, you know, there's a lot of controversy right now about like, you know, people not following through with Kickstarters, or them taking too long and that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We're extremely grateful for Kickstarter. For us, it was the start of the project. It's what confirmed that this was a project or a game that people wanted to play. It was really the turning point for us. If our Kickstarter campaign had failed, we wouldn't have made the game, basically. Prior to Kickstarter, I quit my job as a mobile game developer to put an indie game on Kickstarter. And if that hadn't worked out, then I probably would have had to go find another job. But yeah, I mean, that's a huge part of how we've made the game, is getting the players' feedback. Early on in the process, we sent out our alpha in April, our beta in June, I think, or July. And we just got a lot of really great feedback to help us make the game better. And yeah, there is a lot of controversy about Kickstarter. We're really proud to say that on Kickstarter we said that we would release in September 2015, and we're releasing in September 2015. So for us, that's a huge win, something that we're very proud of and that we hope people appreciate. Yeah,
definitely. And I mean, it's always nice to hear of, you know, people focus on the negative a lot, right? Like, people focus on the failures more than the successes. I'm headed up.
Yeah, it should go up to the top. You need to find a blue flower because it's not going well.
Right, okay. Well, it might still not go well. But...
So if you press start, you have every level. You have a map. Right now, you just found this Dizir here. So you have an objective in every level that's here. I won't spoil it for you, but
gotcha.
As soon as you get there.
Okay. And that big circle, the capsule kind of thing in the center, was that where those rocks were?
Yeah, so this is in the center, the one with the two triangles is the rune.
Okay. Well, I decided I got cocky and I just started running through it and got very poisoned and very almost dead.
I think you'll be okay.
Let's hope that I don't die at the very beginning of the playthrough of this game. That would not make for a great YouTube video.
There you go, you're safe.
Whew, barely, just barely, but that's okay. My goodness. So how long? I guess how long? You mentioned earlier too that a lot of your team was artists, right?
Yep.
How long did you guys spend on just like refining art? I guess.
Well, it's a continuous process, really. Let's say for Thora has maybe, I don't know, 40 different animations, probably. Each animation takes about a day and a half. So you're talking about at least 2 months of work just for Thora.
Wow.
Of animation, and that's not counting character design or anything else. If you actually go back up to the north, there's another little power-up.
Oh.
It'll help you out in the boss fight later on.
I gotta dig my way out of these guys. Oh.
They're not too mean.
No, they're not so bad.
They're
pushover.
They're like happy tentacles.
And how much research did you guys do in like really looking at the mythology and after, like the behind the scenes of like these gods, and where did you try to hold true to those, or did you take creative freedom a lot of the time?
We tried to stay true as much as possible to the actual mythology, so we did a lot of research. So like the statue you just got is Frigg. She's the queen of Asgard. She's the god of childbirth and constellations and a few other things. But what we do in Jotun is in the levels, as you explore, if you can find these statues to the gods, and when you do, they'll give you a power. So you can see up on the upper left, you have an icon there. And if you activate that, it's a healing power. You have limited charges that recharge when you find either Mimir's Well, which was the guy in the jacuzzi at the beginning of the level.
The guy who was staring at me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The creepy dude. And all these elements are part of the mythology. Mimir is a giant in the mythology who had this sacred well in which Odin sacrificed one of his eyes to be able to drink from it to become super really knowledgeable and to gain wisdom. This apple that you just got, Ethan's apple. Ethan is one of the gods in Norse mythology who gives golden apples to the gods, and those golden apples are what allow them to be immortal. So in the game, they give you like a health boost, and we're trying to integrate all that mythology as much as possible into the actual gameplay.
Did the concept, like, for the actual game and the gameplay come from, like, the mythology, or did the mythology follow after? Did you go, we have this idea for a game, and then start looking for themes and settings for it?
I think the mythology definitely came first. That was definitely the starting point. And as you read about the mythology and as you go through it, I mean, we kind of stumbled upon the word Jotun, which means giant in Old Norse, and then that kind of just everything kind of came from there.
He's so old.
Yeah, so this is
he's like so rickety.
This is the equivalent of a Viking zombie. It's called a Draugr.
Right.
So he's kind of an undead Viking who's been unable to leave purgatory. So he also kind of serves as our combat tutorial.
Right. I was not gonna lie. I was expecting something much more menacing, but the fact that he's growing bigger right now is a little terrifying. Oh man. So this is really your tutorial in that you're saying enemies won't be small in this game as they slowly get bigger.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, he's supposed to help you learn how to dodge. I mean, our combat is fairly simple. I mean, you run around, you dodge, you attack, you heavy attack. Once you start getting more god powers, you get a lot more depth through their use, when you should use them, how you can combine them and stuff like that. But the game doesn't have complicated controls.
Yeah, and it's easy to understand too. Like there was no tutorial that told me to press this button or that button, right? It just like it was simple enough that I could understand it. Oh my goodness.
It's always a balance that you need to try and hit, but I've play tested a lot, and I think the balance is pretty good.
Okay, so that was the healing ability, which I think I needed.
Yeah, you weren't doing too good.
Oh, didn't quite get that big hit in there. Or that hit. Now I'm just not getting any hits in. There we go. Oh, good, because he was not big enough before. How many
Bigger
bosses?
is
Yeah. How many bosses are in the game?
There are 5 bosses in the game,
Okay.
but this does not count as one.
Right.
He's just like a level boss.
Haha.
See, his range gets bigger, but also he comes.
It's
he also
very.
gets a weakness.
It's very interesting to have like be able to stand between the legs of a character that was as big as you in the beginning of the fight.
That's actually one of the biggest challenges we run into with the 2D art style.
Yeah.
Being able to simultaneously be in front or behind certain of the either one of the 2 legs or different stuff, especially with the Jotun, who are quite a bit bigger.
Yeah.
Is definitely one of the challenges we have to overcome.
The Rune of JERA.
Yeah, so you had a passage right there.
See, I'm just missing all this stuff. This way.
I think one of the cool things about the game too is that all the voiceovers you hear are in Icelandic.
Oh, I was gonna ask what language it was. Yeah.
So it's
that's supposed to be like the hardest language to learn in the world, right?
Yeah, that's not me talking. we actually did a Reddit post on our Iceland to kind of figure out if we could find some voice actors to do the voices in the game.
You mean they're not just like lining up to Icelandic voice actors?
Well, apparently there are enough to make a pretty cool game, but yeah, I mean that was kind of it's the language that's the closest to Old Norse. Because it's an island. Their language stayed very close to how it was in the Middle Ages and before, so it's pretty cool.
Oh my goodness. It's all very like, it's just got an air of like grandeur and epicness in kind of every moment of it.
Oh, thank you very much.
This is the guy in the jacuzzi as you described him earlier.
Yeah, Mimir. Mimir in his well. So he gives you back your life, he heals up your, charges up your powers as well.
Right. I see that. And you mentioned this earlier too, that it kind of it does sort of have that Disney feel about the animation, right? Like just like a little bit, right?
Oh, that's a great compliment. That's what we're kind of aiming for.
Oh my goodness, what did I do? Oh, this is the real first boss.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is JERA, the nature Jotun.
So the poison and everything that happened last level, I'm assuming now is, I've learned
exactly
what I'm going through. The shadows to dodge and all that sort of stuff. You guys do a really good job of kind of like slowly introducing those game mechanics.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's definitely one of the points. I mean, because the pacing between the levels and the boss fights is so different, we really needed to find ways that we could teach the player how to do the bosses within the exploration levels. So definitely tying in those mechanics there to the levels is one of the core parts of the game.
That doesn't mean I'm any good at it, of course.
It's okay. Everyone sucks when they start. It's normal. That's how games work.
Yeah, I suppose. Oh my goodness. Just hacking away slowly.
Yep, the heavy attack does more DPS.
Oh, okay.
But of course they're a bit harder to land.
Ooh. Oh, that is just kind of creepy looking. Just gonna take my swings where I got him there, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Most of the bosses have a weak spot like that. Usually it depends on how much damage you do to them, and after a certain amount of damage they fall into that weak spot.
Gotcha.
Sometimes there's a bit of puzzle mechanics as well. In her case, though, in JERA's case, it's really a question of slicing away.
Ah! Oh my goodness. So if I just stay by this blue flower, it'll just keep me not poisoned?
Yep, exactly like in the levels.
Right.
Works the same way.
Little safe havens.
Yeah, they won't protect you from the vines, the tentacle vines.
garden is getting out of hand right now. It's just like weeding.
I like that you refer to it as a garden.
Well,
it's like an evil garden in Norse mythology.
Yeah.
Poison, vines and stuff.
Oh, I actually hit a rum there. I was not expecting that to work. Oh, I think I missed that hit.
There we go. I think we're good. Okay, not doing bad.
Not doing terrible here. I mean...
I've seen worse.
That means a lot, I gotta say. So which is your favorite boss, if you had to pick?
My favorite boss, I think, has to be... I think it's the Storm Jotun. She's later on in the game. She's very cool character design. And she has a bunch of lightning attacks, and it's the fight is almost like a bullet hell. So a lot of stuff going on, and it's pretty exciting. I really like the music of Hagala as a Storm Jotun as well.
Oh, get a couple hits in.
Yep.
It's kind of crazy and hectic how many like things have started to stack up, right? Like there's a lot more tentacle guys, and the poison feels like it's coming more often.
Yeah, we're definitely trying to ramp up all the boss fights as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're doing pretty good.
I'm just gonna heal to just make sure I'm like I'm not gonna embarrass myself at the last minute. I'm surprised that hits it.
Yeah, that's Thor's colliders, like the damage colliders, are fairly generous.
Whoa. So these are gods?
No, these are actually Jotun. It's
okay.
In Norse mythology, you have the gods and the Jotun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's similar to Greek mythology.
Okay.
Where you have
the
Titans, exactly.
Right.
There is definitely some similarities there. So these aren't actually gods.
I was gonna say I'd feel bad if I was like hacking up a god right now, but I guess there's a widely popular video game series about doing just that. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's
so
not as bad.
It was already taken.
Yeah. So this is the overworld now, where you mentioned it becomes a little more open, right? I can choose which one I go to
exactly.
next.
There's a suggested order, as you can see. If you stay in the middle there, you can see the arrow and the crows kind of show you which way where you should go.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to choose that order, but there's really nothing stopping you from going elsewhere.
Gotcha. And are those like those are the map basically for each area?
Yeah, exactly. So as you can see, we tell you where the god power is, and where the god shrine is, and where the rune is, but we don't give you like the other secrets, like the little swirls and other elements you have to kind of figure out.
Right. And the apple, which
exactly
I got developer help for that.
Yeah, exactly. You can see there is an open space here that you missed as well.
Oh.
But once you beat the bosses, we actually like show you like grayed out versions of where the secrets are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to complete everything, you can go back in afterwards.
Oh, very cool. We don't want to spoil too much now. Thanks very much for joining me. Thanks for
Thank
giving
you.
us a look at Jotun,
Yeah,
which
thanks
is
so much.
out today, in fact.